and Miss Gina Matthew, who is our first grader. And this is show and tell distributed leadership in action right here. You have a lead storyteller in a first grade teacher, as well as a principal, as well as the other folks that are on the design team. And so I want to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Filia. And I'm going to open it up with just a very open-ended question for you, Dr. Filia. And Brittany, if you can go on to the next slide. And the question is, if we really, 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 really knew Escondido Union, what would we know about your community, about your district?
Wow, what a great intro. Thank you, Cesar. Happy to be here today just to share a little bit about our journey. I think that what we would really want people to know about our district is that we have amazing staff and amazing students. And I'm sure that everybody would say similar things, but we really do have a family kind of feel across our district. So we serve about 14,000 students. We're a TK through 8th grade district. We have 24 schools, and among our community, then we have about 80% of our community is have low socioeconomic backgrounds. And then we serve about 40% that are English learners. So we have a pretty diverse community. But like I said, we have amazing staff. A lot of veteran staff. Once you come and work in Escondido, you stay. And I believe it's because of our people and the connections that we all have with each other. As part of Escondido, our main focus, our vision is to actualize the unlimited potential of every learner. And that speaks to our students as well as our staff. And so we really have been wanting to lean into supporting our community and our staff members as we kind of embarked on this journey. I think as many of us after COVID, we really kind of had an opportunity to reflect, kind of acknowledging all the challenges that everyone was experiencing, and then what was school going to look like after that. And so we really took that opportunity to, while we were trying to meet the needs of our kids, we also wanted to lean into this idea of redefining the student experience in Escondido. And so we were fortunate to partner up with LCC as we took that on and really dug into defining what do we want for our students. And then knowing that that would then cause these shifts, these required shifts to occur across the organization. So from that, we kind of embraced that. We have, as Cesar mentioned, we have a larger kind of district design team, lots of people giving input and ideas as we really kind of put that flag in the sand and said, this is what we want for our students. And so once we developed that learner profile and acknowledged what we wanted, what would the learning experiences look like, there were some specific big moves that we identified that we wanted to see happen. We knew that these were the steps that we wanted to see happen for all of our schools. And so as you see there, the first one is school redesign. And so while that sounds really great, takes some, it's a process, right? It's a process of really being able to set the conditions for staff to kind of put aside any preconceptions and really almost be given permission to be innovative and to really think about what would you want for your own kids. I think once you ask that question with that personal side of for your own children or for your own family members, if you have children in your family, right? Like, what would you want their experience to look like? So that was, I think, really helped us in guiding the conversations. And as central office, as district office, we're here to encourage and to support. And like I said, to outwardly state that you have the permission to embrace intervention, to think outside of the box, and then let's do this together, right? Because I don't have the answers, my superintendent, like we recognize that our strength comes from our people And we wanted just to set those conditions for them to dig into that work. So it's been super exciting. Going through this journey, we had cohort 1, 5 schools engaged in the process last year. We have another 5 schools engaging in the process this year. And so our goal then is to have all of our schools go through that really exciting process. And we're thrilled to invite North Broadway to showcase for you today. They're just a stellar example of them being fully immersed in this redesign process. So I hope that helped, and I'm going to hand it back over to Gina, I believe.
Absolutely. And as we transition over to Gina to hone in on the North Broadway experience, just to do a little a recap. So from the framework for the future, the blueprint was created where we had 5 big moves. One of the 5 big moves is school redesign for all 23 schools. Right now we're in year 2, and we in 10 out of the 23 schools have engaged in a school redesign journey. And so coming into next year, we'll have right about 15 or 16 of the 23. And so that intentional, deliberate vision. And I think the other part too that I want to give kudos to Dr. Filia and Dr. Ibarra, superintendent, is that they made it an opt-in, right? Opt in to cohort 1, opt in to cohort 2. So it was very clear, this is the direction we're going, and it's voluntary, but we're going in this direction. So step in when you're ready. And it has really changed. It has made an impact of the dynamics of the rollout of this big move. So Ms. Gina, I want to turn it over to you. Talk to us about the North Broadway Elementary school redesign journey.
Thank you, Cesar. And first of all, I'd like to thank Cesar as he's taken us through this journey from the beginning. Without him, I don't think we would have accomplished as much as we've been able to. As Dr. Filia has mentioned, questioning was the first thing that we started with. And that's how we started our redesign. We knew we needed a change at North Broadway. And we began with questioning our parents and our students and our staff members, not just teachers, but all of our staff members. And we brought everybody in and we started asking, what do you envision? What would you like our school to look like? And we had lots of chart paper and we started graph charting everything and all the different groups. And as you can see, the bold words here, all these words started populating on all these different chart papers. And this is what we decided, that this was going to be our vision and our mission, because this is what our students and our parents and our staff wanted. And we took that empathy from them. And this is what we decided was going to be our focus. And this is how we build our redesign around. With this, building the relationships between all of this, everybody was on board, and it really helped make our redesign be a success. Our redesign team is a 1st grade teacher, a 3rd grade teacher, a 5th grade teacher, an impact teacher, an SAI teacher, is like a resource teacher, so that everybody had a voice. Everybody felt, the whole staff felt they had a voice in the redesign. It was not just us telling, it wasn't just our principal saying what we're going to do, but everybody felt they had a voice. So everybody got on board with the redesign. Do I have access to the slides, Cesar, or?
We can change it.
Okay.
And Gina, I think another thing in listening to the community that surfaced in particular when we were talking with North Broadway is you were looking at your enrollment trends. And I think something that popped out was, as students matriculated and got into the upper grades, there was a trend of students starting to transition out of North Broadway. And so there was some listening to the community as well, as far as parents were taking their kids out and what have you. So that also informed, if you will, the design process.
So we did notice our 4th grade and 5th grades were leaving our school, and we just want to know why. And so we even interviewed those parents that left, like, why did you leave North Broadway? So what changes can we do to help those students stay at our school? And so we listened and we looked around our school and we saw what we had and what can we change to help them stay. Our school has a lot of land. We had a science lab. Were we utilizing those things as much as we could have? Maybe not. Like, how can we get these students to stay? So we listened and we built our redesign around what we heard. the students wanted, the parents wanted, the teachers wanted, the community wanted.
And Gina, something else I'd like to dig in before we move forward. So having a clear, confident identity is a big part of a school redesign. And if you go back, Brittany, the concept of the ranch, the slogan of take lead. I remember when the team came up with those things, it was like, it was a light bulb, it was an epiphany, it was an energizer. Talk to us a little bit about coming to that place where like, we know who we are and what we're designing into.
Yeah, when we were, we had walls and walls of chart paper and we kept seeing the pattern, but we just couldn't make the connection. And once we looked at our learner profile and our just trying to make all the connections. And once we did, it was like a light bulb went off on everybody. Like why we so let me back up a little bit. We went and visited a lot of schools with Cesar, and we would go and we'd bring back a little bit from each school, and we try to see where the things that we like could fit into North Broadway. And once it mapped out perfectly, we were like, we got it. Like, we think we have it. And when we took it back to the staff, it was like, yes, this is it. This is what we are looking for. And it's our slogan, take lead, is yes, we are going to take lead. Our students are going to take lead. They're going to take lead for their learning. They're going to take lead for what they want to learn, how they're going. It's I want to say they're 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 they want to I'm so sorry. Um they're they want to learn. They show up to school now. They're taking lead of their learning, and they're proud of it. Definitely.
Gina, tell me if this resonates. I remember when the team was talking and the conversations were taking place. This was about learner agency. This is about them taking command, influencing, shaping their learning, their demonstration of learning. And it showed up in that concept of taking lead. Like you are front and center. You are the lead learner for yourself. And we want to provide you that agency. Those are some of the sentiments that I remember, percolating from the team.
Yes, definitely. We listened to what they wanted, so we had to come up with a plan to make it possible for them.
And so talk to us about the big moves. I know we're going on to the next slide.
So one of our big moves is our first one. We started what was called roundups, and our roundups is we defined our ranch culture, and our ranch culture is high quality work, perseverance, interdependence, collaboration, dedication, and pride. And it is so what happens is once a month, we have our students TK through 5 go meet with a teacher, and they all mix together, and they will stay with that teacher throughout their time at North Broadway. And so if they're TK, you'll even when you're in 5th grade, you'll still go to that same teacher, and you're going to build community amongst with that teacher, amongst with those other students. And we do different lessons that build on our ranch culture with those students. And that includes all staff members. It includes our librarian, it includes our social worker, it includes our school psychologist. Every staff member has a group. So that also gives all the other students another adult on campus that they can turn to if they need to. And it gives them a sense of belonging as well.
So when we were talking about the 6 design elements earlier, this would be an example of creating the smaller learning communities, right? That advisory, that small cohort. And then what North Broadway has done, Gina, as a 1st grade teacher, she might have an eclectic group of students, but those same students will stay with her as they progress through 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So again, really tightening the bonds and the relationships between the adults and the students on campus.
Yes,
Excellent.
and our curriculum is created by a group of our teachers.
And what's up? Big move number 2.
Big move number 2 is our ranch time explore classes. So each teacher develops a class that is connected to environmental science, and because we're the ranch, and the students get a choice of what they want to go and do, and it's once a week for an hour. And They go, so kinder and first, they get a choice, second and third, and fourth and fifth. So they go with different teachers. And we ask the students, like, what would you like to learn about? And the teachers come up with lessons for them and their integrated rotations. We've done over 60 classes already, and we implemented it this year. And as you can see, we have little pictures, indoor, outdoor learning. We are working on implementing our learner profile and our learning models into these lessons. So since it is new to our teachers right now, it's still a small, it's a learning, um, they're still learning how to make these classes. So we're still working on putting in our learning models into these lessons. So
Okay.
we're still working on
Gina,
those.
did I hear that right? Did you say 60 distinct learning experiences? And this is year one of
Year one,
implementation, correct?
and it's
Boom.
February. It's February,
Great.
yes.
Lot to celebrate there. And we're talking about real world learning and then integrating the learner profiles. So we're talking about how are we assessing the skills, knowledge, and dispositions that are found in the EUSD learning model. And again, I just want to highlight, this is year one of implementation. And so for me, this is what you get when you energize a community and you have them be core co-creators of this vision. So kudos to you and Team Gina.
Right. And they're not elective type classes, they're exploring classes. So for example, so since we're the ranch, I did a class that was fairy gardens. And so it wasn't just us making a fairy garden. I started with, okay, we are going to become architects first, and we're going to design our garden on a piece of paper before we even, so first we looked at what they look like, and then they became architects. And these are with first graders, so it's not just arts and crafts, so to say, so that we put those learning models into our curriculum.
Talk to us about big move number 3.
Big new number 3. So it takes a lot to do all these all these things. So our staff, we created strategic teams, and we have 5 strategic teams. And this includes all staff, including our paras, including our office staff. Everybody joins in. And these are our strategic teams. We have community partnerships. So that team reaches out to the community to help us with things that we need in our school. We have grants and donations. They reach out to get grants and money for things to donate to our school. We have curriculum standards. They look at our curriculum. So we got a new curriculum. We got hydroponics and Garden Connect. And so they looked at the standards and make sure they're EGSS. And they look at the curriculum, make sure that it's suitable for us to use. And then we have our gardening and our hydroponics curriculum. So you can see on the top right picture, we have our garden. So we make sure everything is ready to go. Last week, we refilled up our garden beds and everything. And then we have our roundup and ranch culture. And those are a group of teachers and staff that make lessons for our roundups. And it's all staff. So everybody has a voice in everything that is going around our school.
So not only is Gina telling the story about the journey, but you're seeing the distributed leadership here taking place. Everybody owning the levels of collaboration, people communicating, exchanging ideas to really bring this vision to life.
Yes,
Excellent.
and so as a design team, the design team decided that everybody on the design team was not going to be the leaders in these strategic teams, because we wanted the rest of the staff to also feel like they were leaders as well, because they are a voice at North Broadway. So we take a step back and have them lead these strategic teams, because we want everybody to feel that this redesign is not just a team of 6 people, it's the whole staff. We are a team of North Broadway. It's a North Broadway team. It's not 6 staff members making this redesign team.
Excellent. And then the closeout, you have one more slide to close out the journey before we get into a little Q&A.
And these are just some of the of our authentic learning experiences with our little friends out here. We have some outdoor learning experiences. As you can see here, we have some, I can't even see what they are anymore.
It's okay. We
Yeah,
could see it on
you can
our
see
end.
'em. Yes,
I-
but
I've got,
the students are really taking, they are so excited on Thursdays. I mean, they come in, I have recess duty afterwards, and they're so excited, and it's really cute too, because you see the first graders walking by and they say hi to their buddies from roundups with the fifth graders, and and everybody's, it feels like such a great community. And I feel like we've done so much in such little time. And we have our 5-year plan, and I'm so excited to see how much further we're going to go here at North Broadway.
before we break out into groups, I'd love to just throw a question out to Gina and then one to Dr. Filia. So the question for you, Gina, this is a messy process. It could, folks need to trust the process. Folks can feel overwhelmed. And so I'd love to hear some insight from you. What helped you and your colleagues really develop a sense of agency in everybody involved and a sense of trust in the process, right? Because there's plenty of reason folks can say, you know what, this is a lot, this is too much, right? And a question for you, Dr. Filia, because I put myself in, Superintendent Heats and Bobby Ann's shoes, and you're saying, oh my God, you're doing a redesign with 15 schools. And what if these 15 schools each come in with their different ideas and their different flavor? How do you provide creative control while at the same time having a very clear destination of what your expectations are in the visions being created? So I'll start with you, Gina. What helped you, your colleagues, trust in the process and feel like your colleagues had agency and decision making and creative control in the process?
I really think the strategic teams help a lot, because everybody feels like they're leaders. Um, I like I like the way our principal talks about everything in our leadership, and everybody has a voice also. And we take a step back when something's not working, and we look at it and we examine it. We're like, you know what, this isn't working, or we need to slow down, or it's too much. We're hearing it, it might be too much, and so we listen to the staff, and we really do we don't want it to be overwhelming for anybody, because if it's overwhelming, then it's not going to work. And we don't want to introduce too much at one time, because if it's we can't, we need to master it for the little steps before you introduce more steps, right? So we have to make sure everything is working great before we move on to the next step. And I feel like our staff feels they have a voice in our redesign. And even if they come to me personally and go, hey, this didn't work well, or this might be too much, I feel like our design team is very open and honest and great communication, that we feel like we can bring it back to the team, and everybody's open to hear it, and there's no negativity at all. And when this was introduced to our staff, nobody wanted to leave our school. Nobody said, I'm out. Nobody said, this isn't for me. Everybody said, okay, let's do it. Let's go North Broadway. We're going to take lead and let's move on.
But the adults adopted take lead. So what I heard from you, Gina, is making sure you have feedback loops built into the process, right? Listen to your community, design with your community. And then I'm going to borrow a concept from our colleague, Liz, is the idea is we want to electrify, right, your community. You don't want to electrocute your community, right? So you don't want to overwhelm them, but you want to energize them.
Yeah, after every roundup, our strategic team that does the roundup lessons, they send out a Google form. What worked? What didn't work? How can we change it? They want to know. We all want to know. What can we do
Excellent.
in the garden? I had somebody come up. I want to plant something in the greenhouse. Do you guys think we can get it working? Yes, absolutely. We have to communicate with each other. That's how it has to work. it's a team. It's a whole
Yeah.
school team.
Excellent. Want to turn over to Dr. Filia at the cabinet level, right? Really empowering schools and their teams to design into a novel vision. For some leaders, that could be overwhelming, right? Whether you have a school district of 4 or 30, how at Escondido have you really been able to, manifest that clear and compelling vision to ensure, as folks are being creative, they're being creative towards the Escondido North Star, not necessarily just their own North Star.
Yeah, so we also took the time to ensure that our leaders really understood our framework. So we allowed for lots of opportunities when they would come together, where our administrators were real clear about what was in the framework, that they understood that this is now what we're all driving towards, so that all of our decisions and actions need to be in support of our framework. So we also want to ensure, and I think that there's a level of willingness to be vulnerable as well. So acknowledging that change can be messy, and sometimes you have resistors, but really just always consistently messaging that we don't all have to look exactly the same. Each school has its own community that they serve. They have their own leader with their style. They have their own flavor, right? So each school, and that's we value that and we celebrate that in general, right? You could almost take that as an example of, in general, how we treat people, right? We value the diversity and the differences among our different school communities. So with that, we really message to our principals that our framework is our North Star. It's what we're all driving towards, and we're all looking to change the student experience within our organization. And these are our top priorities of what we want for all of our students. And so we've just clearly articulated that, and then constantly are communicating that. And we always cycle back and circle back with our leaders to ensure that they continue to feel that inspiration, that they see the amazing work that's happening at our schools like North Broadway. I mean, they've presented so many times in different contexts with our different with their colleagues, or even in design team, to our school board. So we really want to highlight and celebrate the work, acknowledging that everyone might be at a different place. It might look a little bit different, but we're all driving towards the same goal, which is outlined in our framework. So that's really what we try to just continually do. It's that, again, setting the conditions, encouraging, supporting, and then, lifting up all of the great things that are happening across the district. So we really just try to continue that energy too.
Yeah. And I'm gonna double down on that word energy. When I hear you and Dr. Ibarra communicate, I feel warmth, I feel confidence, I hear non-negotiable. This is where we're headed. You might be at a different place, but you need to jump on board because this is where we're headed. And it just comes off naturally because you've owned and really been in the work. And so that really messages to your leaders, yep, this is where our organization's headed. So